If you have a child, you have heard about CoComelon. CoComelon is one of the most popular YouTube channels for kids. It has over 184 million subscribers. It's colorful, fast-paced, and entertaining, and will keep your kids quiet at dinner, at the restaurant, in the grocery store. So, is this good for the child's brain? We're gonna dive right in. Ready? Let's get started. So you've probably heard about the negative news headlines about CoComelon and how bad CoComelon can be for your kids, and it's bad for their brain development. But is there any clinical or scientific validity to these claims? So we're gonna dive right in and look at it. And if you watch to the very end, I promise you the information that I give to you today will change your life and your children's life. Let's watch this clip from CoComelon, and I also put a stopwatch above the video so that you can see how fast the scene changes are. You can see that the scene changes are incredibly fast. That the scene changes often less than 3 seconds, and some scenes were less than 1 second in scene change. That is not great for kids' development because these types of media are extremely powerful learning tools. As you know, when your kids watch a cartoon, they start singing the tunes, they can recognize colors, and they can recognize things that are being taught in the cartoon. However, because they're so engaging, kids will sit quietly and not mind watching 8 hours of CoComelon or other cartoons like CoComelon. However, watching 8 hours of fast-paced cartoons is not going to be good for your kids' development. What happens is their brains are searching for novel stimuli, and it's too stimulating for their brains. Sure, they'll be watching the cartoons and learn about colors and numbers and how to sing. However, they're sacrificing other things like self-control, sitting quietly at the table or sitting quietly in the shopping cart while you go grocery shopping. These are also very important skills to develop. Dr. Dimitri Kostakis out of Seattle, he is a pediatrician and a researcher, and what he has shown is that these fast-paced cartoons are linked to higher rates of attention deficit disorder or ADHD. These are great learning modalities, and when the scene changes too quickly, the kids are learning how to look for novel information that pops up on the screen. But when they go into reality, they're doing the same thing. The problem is when they enter a classroom where they have to be quiet and they have to sit still, and the scene changes are much longer. It takes a teacher maybe 30 seconds to a minute, maybe 2, to explain what the task at hand is or to draw on the board. So these cartoons that are fast-paced are making it very difficult for kids to just sit still, learn to have self-control, and just be still. We are living in one of the most anxious generations ever. Jonathan Haidt wrote a book on the anxious generation. One of the things that make our children extremely anxious is exposing them to high-paced, high-stimuli types of media. Let's look at an old-school media program like Mr. Rogers and compare the scene changes to that of CoComelon. that opening sequence of Mr. Rogers, it took an entire minute for Mr. Rogers to take off his sweater, to put on his shoes, and to sing a song to the kids. And if you watch his programs, it's similar. Research has shown that high-paced media can be associated with ADHD and even autistic symptoms. If you haven't watched my video here on virtual autism, I recommend that you watch that video after this video. This hand analogy will help you understand what's going on in your child's brain when they're watching too much media. So the thumb represents anything that they're learning on the screen, such as how to count, how to recognize colors, how to sing. This one could be athletic ability. This finger could be empathy or self-control. This one could be artistic abilities. This could be reading and writing. As they're watching, on average now, 8 hours a day. So research have shown that the average American child is watching more than 8 hours of entertainment media a day. These other areas of the brain that controls all these other things that you want your child to develop will actually go to the wayside. And this area of the brain that's controlled by the media, meaning that they'll recognize colors really well, they'll know those tunes and songs really well, they will know how to count really well. This will be the overriding areas of the brain that develops. However, when they grow and they mature and the brain locks in development, they will be all thumb thinking by the time they're 18 or young adults. Now, one of the biggest things is media can actually soothe someone's anxiety or depression. We know that it stimulates dopamine in the brain. So if your child is anxious in the shopping cart or anxious at the restaurant and you put a screen in front of them, it will quiet them down. However, they become dependent on that screen to be less anxious. When they're without the screen, they are incredibly more anxious. I think this is the biggest culprit for the anxious generation. This generation has grown up with screens as a digital pacifier. And when they don't have the screens in front of them, they feel anxious, they feel antsy, they are ADHD, they don't know what to do. So what are the solutions? We need to follow what the rich do, meaning that the tech executives send their kids to Waldorf schools. And the majority of the Waldorf schools require a no-tech contract where the kid has no exposure to technology until age 16. So what's interesting about this is that back in 2011, there was a New York Times article on the executives of HP and all the major Fortune 500 tech companies send their kids to private schools that can cost more than $40,000 a year, but the main thing they do at these schools is have no technology in the schools and require the students not to have technology until age 16. The parents were worried and asked Waldorf to do a study. When Waldorf did the study, they showed that when at 16 they were given technology, it only took 6 months for the kids who never had technology to catch up to the other kids who had tech. What I recommend also is for you to limit technology so that your kids can also learn how to read and write and do art and sing and do all these things without technology. And at age 16, that is when you introduce the technology. Now, one of the big things is the phone is a status symbol. If you don't have a smartphone, you could actually be ostracized in the schools and be bullied. What I recommend doing is giving them an iPhone. That's the most popular phone, and lock it down. Take away the App Store, take away internet access, and make it into a flip phone. Protect your kids' brains and don't let them get overexposed, and then introduce the technology when they're 16. Just like the tech executives and the people who design these techs, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends the following guidelines for your children. Infants 0 to 18 months, no screen time except for video chatting with family and friends. Toddlers 18 to 24 months, limit screen time to educational programming with a caregiver. And I would also add slow moving scene changes. So I would get like old school Mr. Rogers and old school types of educational material for the children. And use a stopwatch. And if it's too fast, don't use it. Children ages 2 to 5, limit non-educational screen time to about 1 hour per weekday and 3 hours on weekends. Again, even at 2 to 5, pick slow, scene-changing types of shows. So at this age, you could probably do Mr. Rogers, you can do Little House on the Prairie. Amazon has great DVD sets of these things. I will put the links in the description for you of these shows that I would recommend. School-age children, 5 to 12 years, establish clear boundaries around screen time, prioritizing sleep and physical activity. What I tell people is that kids don't get addicted to broccoli and cauliflower. So treat this like digital veggies versus digital candy. At this age, their frontal lobes aren't able to put on the brakes. What they want to do is just throttle down. So whatever they like digital candy, they will use a lot of it. And because they don't have the self-control, they would rather use digital candy or watch digital candy versus going to bed and getting sleep and getting rest and doing homework. So as parents, it is imperative that you actually put the brakes on for your children, put the safeguards down. If you have questions on how to do this, I also have a digital detox video that you can watch over here. And I would recommend that you watch that one as well after this video. And then teens, 13 years and older, work with your teen to establish boundaries around screen time, prioritizing sleep and physical activity. Teens are not going to be able to make those decisions because their brains aren't fully developed until age 25. That is when the human brain fully matures. This is why insurance companies will give you a break on your car insurance at age 25, because they know at age 25, we all make better decisions. Until then, be like the Waldorf schools and lock down technology until 16. At that point, introduce technology and media to them so that they can actually develop and catch up with the other rest of the world. But until then, until 16, let their brains develop. I can guarantee you, your kids will be better without the technology. Time and time again, as I do public speaking on this topic, or as a clinician dealing with parents, I see parents come back to me and say, "Doc, I took away the tech, I took away the screens, and my kids now are painting and writing and reading, and they're doing better in math. And they want to be an astronomer, or they want to be an astronaut, or they want to be a doctor now." Before, they only cared about whatever was on the screen, whatever video game or the show they're watching. By removing the screens away, your children will do so much better. They will find their gifting, they will get bored, and actually bored is good because when they get bored, they will find other interests other than the screens. And often they will find something like athletics or art, reading, writing, something else that interests them other than what's on the screen. What do you do when you take away the screens and your child screams and yells and has a temper tantrum? Well, first, make sure they're safe and make sure they're in an area where they can kind of like relax a little bit and let them unwind. Help them with breathing exercises. Take deep breath in and trying to gain their self-control. I would recommend that you consider a digital detox. Dr. Victoria Dunkley is a pediatric psychiatrist. She has seen when you remove the screens away from a child, within 30 days, meltdowns, temper tantrums, bad grades, even mental illnesses like anxiety and depression, all will lessen and improve and sometimes completely disappear. Dr. Hansen and I published a book called Digital Drugs, and it's available in book form as well as an audiobook here. And I recommend that you look at that book, as well as looking at the videos on digital detox. It will walk you through a digital detox and help you go through what's necessary in order to successfully and safely detox your child. Thank you for watching this video. If you like it, please like, share, and comment. And also make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. Until next time, have a great day.